3 minutes after a deep dive. My mama studies the Picts, so I don't study the Picts because nobody argues with my mama. Due to my upbringing, when I look at things, I look at it with a certain set of knowledge. And one of those sets of knowledge is the fact that no name that we call any people is the name they chose themselves. If they are being written about as they are being killed, they are not being referred to in the proper verbiage. It's important to note this, that the Picts never called themselves the Picts. The Keltoi nation never called themselves the Keltoi. The Irish, who were also a part of the Celtic nation, called the Picts the Cruithneach. They state that the Picts came from Trace, and so this is probably the closest that you're going to get to what the Picts would have called themselves, though still probably not the same. The Irish state that when the Picts came from Trace, they moved through and left a group of people in Gaul. So when the Romans were calling the Picts for tattooing their skin and painting their skin, they called the Pictoni for doing the same thing, which would make sense that they would come from the same people, carrying on the same traditions. It is important to note that it is tattooing. It's described as tattooing, and I can do a whole video on tattooing. We will, don't worry. So if you look, they are associated with Caledoni and the Caledoni people. But when they talk about that, they call them the Picts first, and it's distinguished that there were a tribe within the Pictic nation called the Caledoni, and the Romans ended up referring to the whole group as the Caledoni, and then referred to the whole of northern Britain as the Caledoni, and then put a wall on it because they couldn't kill them. This would not mean that the Picts refer to themselves as the Caledoni. The Caledoni would be a Latinized version. Now, DNA supports this. The DNA of the Picts goes back 7,000 BCE, and it is a rare Y haplogroup. Haplogroup I is the oldest major haplogroup in Europe, and in all probability the only one that originated there. Ancient DNA has confirmed that it's 45,000 years old. I2 came about in the late Paleolithic, and I2-1A seems to have come out of the Neolithic as the major winner. I2A1 currently has its densest population in Bosnia, and that is the haplogroup that traced into Scotland. Bosnia being near Trace. So the recent DNA also shows that they're closely related to the Basque population of Spain, which is a very unique population if you don't know. As you trace the DNA, it supports the Irish legends of leaving the Pictoni group back behind and moving up into Scotland. So I would say no, the Pictonis and the Picts would have been the same people, and the Caledoni were actually a later name applied by the Romans to the Picts because they couldn't kill them.